So, Watcher of Realms is certainly not the game best known for having the most viable 3-star units or rare heroes. However, there are a couple that are actually not just extremely viable, but necessary in the most meta, popular endgame comps for clearing the 3 gear raids, gear raid 121, 221, and 321. Those 3 heroes are Autumn, Decimus, and Narvi. They are tremendous. Do not sell them. That is the point of this video. Save them. You're gonna want to have them. Let's get into it.
Fastidious.
Fastidious.
How the heck are you guys? I am Fastidious. Welcome to my channel. These 3 rares are not just rare heroes you're using for fun or to do some kind of challenge or to show off. They are actually staples, key elements in my most used team comps for all 3 gear raids all the way through the endgame, 19 through 21, gear raid 1, 2, and 3. Please take my word for it. These are heroes you are gonna want to keep, and please not sell. I have done over 200 paid takeovers, never failed a takeover, and that is largely on the back of these 3 rare heroes. And when I go into an account and find that one of these 3, or maybe 2 or 3 of these 3 rare heroes are not there, it makes my life a lot harder and makes the takeover a lot less smooth. These are heroes that you guys are gonna need so you can do it yourself, no issues at all. So let's kick this thing off with my girl Narvi. She does not have a faction, she cannot be awakened, she is supremely easy to build. As is true with all 3 of these rares, all you need to do is get them to promotion level 1 because they all have some kind of auto passive or passive ability that is unlocked there, and max skill them. It couldn't be easier. To get a rare hero to promo 1, you need 4 blue insignias, 4 insignia level 1s. It could not be easier. Farm them from stage 3 of any promotion raid, whatever the relevant promotion raid is. There you go, you've got your promo 1. When it comes to skill ups, your first month playing the game, it might feel like you don't have many rare skill crystals or rare skill dust, but let me tell you, very quickly you'll have more rare skill up material than you know what to do with, and later on it will look something like this. 59 rare skill up crystals and 16.16 thousand rare skill dust. Keep in mind, those are my numbers now after they introduced the guild donation system, and I've donated plenty of these because I obviously don't need them. Every rare I like on my account is max skilled. So any rare you're going to use, make sure they are promotion level 1 and they are max skilled. Anyway, back to our girl Narvi. She's got a simple kit. You're going to need it max skill because actually with Narvi, her skills are all useful. Basic cannot be upgraded, and then the other 2 skills are all about cost generation. Her ultimate actually has 1 added bonus. We'll get to that very shortly. Let's start with her auto passive. It's very simple. Once you have it max skilled, every 15 seconds restores HP equal to 20% of max HP. Who cares? And 3 costs every 15 seconds. I care about that. That is awesome. So that is, what, 12 costs a minute, 24 costs every 2 minutes. For longer fights, it's super viable. But this is just kind of a cherry on top of her even better cost-generating skill, that being her ultimate, Encourage. Grants 2 random allies 20% inspiration and restores 8 costs, lasting for 8 seconds. So, every 500 cost, it's very cheap, that's very nice. With a very high initial cost, you will be able to trigger this and get 8 costs back, right? The second part, which is the added bonus, you know, Narvi, she lights the way, shout out to new name. You're going to get an inspiration boost. This is 2 random allies, so it's not as effective as like Dolores. It's only 20%. It only lasts for 10 seconds, but it can be a nice added thing. If you don't have Dolores and you need that little extra push, this can work. I will say, to actually properly get some inspiration benefit, you're going to actually have to build out your Narvi and not just leave her at like 4 stars promotion like I have. But for all other content, you can literally keep her at 3 stars, 1 star promotion. It is that easy. Just make sure these skills are maxed out and you will be cooking. Her chief purpose, and certainly in the content I use her in all the time in takeovers, is for her cost generation, and also 1 extra bonus you didn't even see here, the low cost ult. So what am I talking about? Well, Narvi can be extremely viable in Gear Raid 2. I would say she's strictly outclassed there by Dallin, but granted, Dallin, you need to max out her Rebel auto passive, which you know is more expensive to do than Narvi. And Narvi can be a lot less clunky to use than Dallin if you don't have Dallin maxed out. However, for Gear Raid 3, Narvi is excellent. Getting costs at the beginning in Gear Raid 3, especially for 19, 20, and absolutely 21, that extra cost goes a really long way, and Narvi brings it second best in the game. Only Dallin outclasses her in that department. However, Narvi is able to do something that Dallin is not able to do in Gear Raid 3, and that is have a manual ult. And this has everything to do with Idril, the queen herself of Gear Raid 3. Idril has a passive that completely hinges on the triggering of ultimates of other heroes on your roster, and that gives an enormous boost to her next shots after an ally triggers its passive. So let me read it to you. Combo shots, passive. Each time an ally casts their ultimate, the hero's next attack will deal 100% increased damage. Airborne units take 70% extra damage instead. That is not an instead, that is additionally. It's 170% extra damage to airborne units. This is, one of the many mistypes in the game, but 170% extra damage, so it's a 270% of what the damage actually would be. It is so powerful. Narvi, because she has a low-cost manual ult, after the beginning of the fight in Gear Raid 3, you'll have more cost than you know what to do with if you're using her properly. However, I will always try to leave her on the field, or if I pick her up, I put her back down later, and that is basically to use the ult not for cost, but as like a manual controlled tactical nuke button for my Idril when Idril needs an extra boost. Let's say there's one more mob headed towards the portal, it's marching down there, Idril's still ulting, I trigger Narvi, all of a sudden it's 270% damage of what it would have been. So, a normal Idril that I'll use with a really nice build is hitting for like 80k during its ultimate. It goes up to about 230k damage, and that'll eliminate the mob. So this is an extra special use for Narvi, but for Gear Raid 2, where you're going to do the Volca Polka, again, shout out to New Name, that's tons of cost generation you're going to want up front. Again, Dallin does strictly outclass you there if you have Rebel maxed out. Otherwise, Narvi is the best choice in the game, better than Cyrene. And then Gear Raid 3, depending on your comp, if you don't have a very strong Dolores and Idril, I actually think Narvi is better than Dallin because of this use here, this low-cost manual ult. Dallin has an auto ult, granted it is low cost, but you can't control when you use it. I'm all about agency, and Narvi absolutely gives you that. Narvi, she lights the way, a tremendous rare. Now we can move just one hero to the left to Decimus, another rare fighter without awakenings and with no faction. Decimus is the easiest one to use on this list. He's really simple. You don't even technically need to max skill him. You just need to make sure that his passive, Defiance, is max skilled. I'm not even going to cover his ultimate because it does not matter. So what does Defiance do? When HP drops to 0, the hero remains alive and continues to fight for 8 seconds. During this time, his attack is increased by 105%, but he will die immediately after the duration and cannot be revived. Do not care about the attack increase. All we care about is that 8-second extra window we have delaying his death. Again, you will need promotion level 1 to have unlocked this. I will admit to you, several times I've been, had a great comp set up on a takeover, and I realized, why does Decimus keep dying? And then realized I'm a bonehead, and I never promo 1'd him, so I never unlocked the passive, which is the only reason we're using him. So the use case here, guys, is you have the very fast running men that come down in Gear Raid 2, 19 through 21. He's also extremely viable in earlier Gear Raid 2s, and I should say all 3 of these heroes are extremely viable in stuff before endgame Gear Raids. The thing that makes them special is they last through into the endgame Gear Raids, into your Gear Raid 21s. Basically, those fast running men come down, they hit super hard. They used to be the roly-polioles that rolled super hard, and they are going to significantly damage whichever of your allies they hit. So nice to make that ally just a meat sack punching bag. Decimus. I highly suggest, and another plug here, save a set of rapidity to run him in. All he does is get cycled on and off the battlefield, so no reason not to give him 1 reduced cost, right? Super easy. You can just buy this out from the market, or early on in the game, you'll have farmed it on your early Gear Raid 2, and then you can just use it easy peasy. There's one other special thing about Decimus that makes him just so good and the best in the game for what he does, better than epics and better than legendaries, and that is his revival time. It is only 18 seconds. The typical revival time in this game, let's just go to Cyrene or something, is going to be 60 seconds. So his is, almost a quarter of that. Then if you run him with Volca, which you will do if you're doing the Volca Polka strat, this goes from 18 seconds to 13.5 seconds. You can cycle him constantly. Just time him out properly. Check out my many Gear Raid 2 guides. This guy's an absolute staple and one you should absolutely not sell. And finally, guys, I've saved the best for last, my favorite hero in the game. You'd have to be pretty new here to the channel to not have heard about Autumn before. She sincerely is my favorite hero in the game. She is easy to use, and she is supremely powerful, probably the second best buffer inside the entire game. So what's going on with Autumn? You can see I've got her max awakening. She's the first one here that actually has a faction and actually has awakenings. The awakenings are bubkiss, right? They're not exciting at all, but you might as well grab those extra stats. But the reason I have her max level is because I've run out of heroes to level, and I needed to max level someone about 2 or 3 Corridor of Glory level up events ago. So now I do have her 6 stars, but for the longest time, and this is what I suggest you guys do, just make her 5 stars, 5 stars promotion. She's the only hero in this list, this little list of the 3 heroes we're talking about, that needs to be built at all. And theoretically, for a lot of content, she doesn't need to be, but she's the kind of hero that's going to stay on the battlefield for a long time. She might need to take 1 hit, maybe 2 hits. So having her at 5 stars promotion is very useful for her base stats, because her base stats are absolutely paltry. Keep in mind, these are her base stats at 6 stars, 5-star promotion, right? They are just non-existent. 5,700 HP. It is weak over here, right? She is going to be from the Infernal faction, and she is a healer hero. However, the healing is not important at all. Not one bit. This healing, you can see, this grants attack-based healing to all allies in range, and she does have that kind of unique Dolores range that we've gotten used to. That healing is nothing. It's like essentially non-existent. What matters is her ultimate and her passive. Her passive I put in quotes because there's nothing that makes this a passive. This is just an extension of the ultimate, and they want to make it seem like she has an extra skill. So we're going to treat this as one thing. It also makes it so there's 2 things you have to level up. But it's super important that you have this max level, because she goes from, okay, to, wow, holy crap. Grants crit damage increase to all allies in range, excluding the caster, lasting for 20 seconds. Who cares if she gives it to herself? Does not matter. Leveling this up not only brings it up to 20 seconds, but it brings it all the way up from a 30% crit damage boost to a 60% crit damage boost. It is hard to build crit damage in this game all the way through the late game. It's not really until endgame that you're going to be consistently rocking heroes crit capped with 300 plus crit damage or even 400 crit damage, right? Getting this extra 60% crit damage is tremendous early, mid, and late game. I've used Autumn on accounts with Aracha and Bonded Silas and Idril and all these crazy things because she's that powerful, that boost that she gives, right? It is so strong. On top of that crit damage boost, it gets even better. During the ultimate, she will also grant Wrath of the Maple. This is a crit rate increase. It starts at something not so exciting, only 10%, but you can see as you go +5, +5, +5, +5, you take this all the way to 30%. It's so easy to skill her up. I think she's by far the best rare in the game. This now makes the hard cap on crit for heroes in her range, if you time it out right, only 70%. It's also really hard early mid game, and even for some people late game, to fully crit cap their heroes. This makes it so when she is ulting, your heroes are crit capped. Autumn sincerely has viability in all 3 gear raids. I've used her on takeovers many times in all 3 gear raid 21. I would say her biggest place to shine is going to be gear raid 3. That's where I find her to be an absolute staple unit. You know, on top of how strong this crit damage increases, so you can melt the succubus boss, and the crit rate increases, so it kind of lessens the load of the builds you need to put on your Calypso or your Silas or your Brienne or your Idril or whatever. On top of all of that, speaking of Idril, she's got a fairly low-cost ult. She's got extremely high rage regen auto at 18. She generates 18 costs towards her ultimate every second. She can ult a lot, especially if you build her properly, and this is just an extra tactical nuke. I need a big burst from Idril button, just like we discussed with Narvi. On top of all of that, I mean, the crit rate, crit damage, she's just amazing. There's something I like to run called Aloris. That's where you mix Autumn and her friend over here, Dolores, run them in tandem for ultimate support. I've done it in Gear Raid 1, Gear Raid 2, and Gear Raid 3. I have a whole guide on how to do it for Gear Raid 2, so you guys can go check that out. Just search Aloris. This is a lethal combination. You get all the attack you need that's so hard to build on your heroes, and all the crit rate and crit damage that you need. Autumn is tremendous, truly. She's got viability in these places, but also so many other places. So I think now would be a good time to conclude the video by saying the other places I like to use these heroes. So starting with Autumn, because we're already right here. Autumn is unique among this group because she actually does have a faction, that being Infernal, this being one of the hardest faction trials in the game, and her being essentially 100% necessary. Could you do it without her? Maybe. Does anyone do it without her? Not really that I know, because you need to nuke down those crazy huge, exceedingly powerful shields the boss puts up, especially at stage 12, and a great way to do it is to have a bigger support boost for your key heroes like your Setram or your Twin Fiend or something like that, right? Really Setram, let's be honest. She allows Setram to instantly be critting, instantly be hitting for a ton of crit damage. You don't have to just rely on the passive. Combine that with Dolores. Very often people will stack those two on the right if you can picture the map. She is essential there. On top of that, until you get Dolores, I did not get Dolores until like day 45 or 55, I can't remember. Autumn was in every single comp on my roster. Every single comp. My love for Autumn goes way, way back. My first 50 days, I was an honest free-to-play, no content creator diamonds, you know, and I was just carried on the back of this little redhead over here. She is so, so good. You can use her absolutely everywhere. She was a core staple in my guild boss team. I used her in all 3 gear raids. I used her in promotion raids. I used her in resource raids. I used her everywhere. She is so flipping good. The other 2 guys, let's go back to fighters so I can discuss it. Narvi, I would say her other viability really lies in the earlier game when you're getting through campaign and you need extra cost, or, you know, maybe a resource raid, promotion raid, something like that. She's pretty darn solid. I also used her so much. For so much of the cost generation, Dallin is just better. Let me just plug Dallin here. If you can max this out, it is just ridiculous. However, when it comes to Gear Raid 3 specifically, also Gear Raid 2, very, very good, but Gear Raid 3 specifically, because of that low-cost manual ult, for a lot of comps, for a lot of accounts, Narvi will be the best option in the whole game. Finally, Decimus. He really is king of Gear Raid 2, but one other place I've used him a ton lately is going to be against the Aracha boss with those suicide spiders she sends down the lanes. I'm talking Void Rift. It's very difficult, and just have Decimus or Baron, or the way I do it, both, having them tanking those big explosions is huge. So that's a great extra use of Decimus. If we ever have more kind of like suicide spidery content later on, Decimus will really, really shine. I think that's a great place to end it. I mean, we've got them right here. Decimus, Narvi, and just like we started the video, we are going to end on the most beautiful girl in the realm, Autumn. Absolutely love her. These are the 3 rares you should not sell. You should absolutely save. If you want to see some video of them being play tested, I know Destined is putting out a video either today or tomorrow, so absolutely go check that out. I really hope this helped you guys. Do not sell these heroes. Do not sell these heroes. Do not sell these heroes. I have been Fastidious, and I'll see you in the next one.
Fastidious.